Day 91 with Mary Jo, Align and Shine, and Divine Love Ambassador channel here on YouTube and on my Substack and wherever else you might see this. So taking a breath. I always start off with and that's very, very purposeful. The invitation is the sigh. Because guess what? We do it when we feel like the pressure is off. So when I'm with my clients, especially my massage clients, I often explain this, or maybe sometimes my quantum healing hypnosis clients, more specifically my massage clients, because we're going deep into the breath initially, and how I get them to connect to feeling comfortable with the sigh, because sometimes there's self-consciousness initially if we're not used to going because it can actually feel quite vulnerable, because usually when we do that unconsciously or naturally, it's usually when other humans are not in the room, or if there is humans in the room, our nervous system feels really comfortable and safe with them to be completely ourselves, messy, magical, the whole gamut. How I explain it to my clients, just to connect the dots, is often that sigh for many people, especially if there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of performance going on in your life, and worry and concern about whatever is happening, maybe your health, maybe the political stage, maybe on the other side of the world, maybe down your neighborhood, maybe with your children, and maybe it's just when you get into bed, you put the covers over and you go, hopefully, because if you don't, it's probably going to lead to insomnia. So hopefully that's what happens, is you go in and you pull those covers up over your body, and to the body that's like, oh, I'm safe. And now I can just let go. And then often very quickly is shifting through the brain waves from the beta, the extreme busy beta, go, 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 pressure, performance, striving, gotta get more, be more, or do more, have more, be more, to from beta to alpha to theta and into delta, which is the sleep. And as I've shared before, in the quantum healing hypnosis, when we're doing a hypnosis, when I'm doing the QHHTs, it's in theta. I'm taking people from beta into alpha into theta brainwave, not into delta. However, often we're living, especially when we're living more in our ego identity, at the whim of the external world, when we're feeling separate, it's that beta brainwave that gives us that sense of individuality and separation. And also, we're, as kids, when we're in that 0 to 7 age, we're mostly in the theta brainwave and alpha brainwave. And then through what we call trauma or developing survival habits, then we learn how to perform our humanity. We learn that, okay, got to be a good girl, or you got to work hard, or you got to be quiet, or you got to get good grades in school, or you got to, whatever that is, to survive and to get your needs met in the environment that you were brought up in. And then that develops that more, in extreme polarity, the empathic way of surviving, which is sensing externally to figure out what everybody else needs, and then to try to appease the people pleaser. And also it gives us, it also primes us for intuitive sensing, which is a beautiful thing, and compassion and all these things. As long as we can switch it up, which I've had to learn to do, from scanning for danger and what could go wrong and who doesn't like me in the room, or, potentially may not, and how can I adapt myself and shapeshift into whatever the room needs me to be, so I can be liked, to be safe, to not be judged, because that doesn't feel good, right? None of us like being judged. And to play into all that game. And that takes a lot of energy. And then the other polarity is the narcissistic personality that develops, which is, okay, I'm not, it's me. It's me for me and no one else. So, and it becomes, I guess, the narcissist, it's very much a mental disconnected game from the body, and it's all about how do I get my needs met by manipulating, controlling, conniving. Again, neither of these is wrong or right or good or bad when we take the judgment away. They're just the different polarities. And so the narcissist tendency in the extreme then is, I mean, it goes into the psychopathic extreme, which is the lack of compassion and lack of empathy. Lack of empathy. So the middle road is how do we balance, come back into a more integrated whole, which is going to be how to balance the empathic personality with more of a narcissistic tendency, which actually is just a healthy self-esteem, and for a narcissistic personality to balance the scale, so to speak, of the unbalanced polarity with more empathy, with more start to point back towards empathy, which is philanthropy in the world. We can see these, people who have a lot, starting to be philanthropies. Whether they are or they aren't is a whole other thing, but they put on the show. And again, that could be a show to manipulate the empaths to go, hey, we're empathic. So you got to be discerning these times. You got to be very discerning who's playing a manipulative game. And the beautiful thing about being in your body and grounded and energetically aware and somatically aware is you actually start to you start to notice what resonates and what doesn't resonate, and you start to listen to yourself and trust yourself and go, and if something feels off, you listen to it. If your body contracts or says no, you listen to it. You listen to what's your yes, which feels lighter and expansive, more of an openness. So you start to listen to the somatic or the body wisdom and the energetic wisdom, and not from a place of overextending, which tends to be the empath tendency, but from a place of being centered in self, and then navigating from a place of clarity and healthy esteem. So the self-worth becomes self-acceptance, and the self-acceptance becomes inner alignment, truly becomes more aligned with that inner remembrance of who we truly are, and that our worth and our acceptance is never in question. Like, who we truly are is connected to all that is. We remember that we're not separated. So all those aspects of self that fragmented in those earlier formative years to build the personality self or that identity operating in that very beta brainwave context starts to soften and integrate and relax. That's why rest is so important, and sleep and relaxation and recovery, because we're reteaching the nervous system that what was kind of pushed into these identity roles and survival patterning can now relax, that time is over, and it's safe now to let those parts that felt alone, that felt they had to protect. The protector is usually protecting the innocence within us, within our hearts, that deep sensitivity, that deep, natural feeling, organic feeling center within us all, our hearts, our gut, and that it's safe for those parts now to be reintegrated, to be felt, to be seen, to be heard, to be retired from the old jobs that they had, which was survival, protection, avoidance, perhaps through numbing out, through keeping busy, through working hard, all of this, avoiding, uncomfortable conversations. And then we start to go inward, and we're dropping from the beta brainwave to the alpha. This is why meditation, breath awareness, being in nature, all of this starts to soften, and we start to regulate the nervous system into alpha, that it's safe to drop in, no judgment, no scanning externally for threats or harm or the need to perform for the external world in order to be safe. So give it a yes in the comments if this resonates for you. Let me know in the comments what's resonating, what's pinging in your system. And you may react, it may be a trigger. So notice what you notice, okay? And notice that it's all information, whether it's a trigger or whether it's an expansion. A trigger is just a contraction that's been kind of pressed on, and it's like, whoa, and it can feel uncomfortable initially, but then as you breathe into it and allow it rather than resist, then that energy will dissipate. Whereas if we go into resistance, often we're pointing the finger and we're blaming somebody. That's why really, on social media and how we, we give ourselves away all the time, and how I love watching people's comments and responses on videos and posts and things like that, because it tells me more about the person, how we're responding, tells me more about the person's nervous system, their frame of reference, their perceptual lens, where they are in their awakening journey, and so on and so forth. So just being curious about that, not in a judgmental way, just in a curious way. So we're softening from beta into alpha brainwave state. And also, I just want to slot in here that this is a transmission. So don't get too caught up in my words. If you can't follow everything I'm sharing, just know that it's more about the energy and the frequency. This is a transmission of energy more than my words. My words are just entertaining your mind, your mental mind that likes to understand and track. But it's more important what's happening in your body, what you're noticing as a resonance, as a yes, as a no, as a contraction, as an expansion, into that more awareness of somatic wisdom through sensitivity and breath, noticing what's happening in your breath. So with that, before I go on any further, another sigh to release any pressure, release any resistance, release any trying, and just dropping down into the belly, into the pelvis, into the earth, softening the shoulders, give them a little roll. And straight away we're softening from the beta, reactive, into the alpha, responsive, starts to open up a bit more spaciousness in our field, in our thought field, in our emotional field, bring in more presence so that we can respond through awareness. And as you continue to breathe, harmonizing into more of a coherent body, deepening into deeper alpha, deeper theta, which is coming more into calibrating the body, the nervous system, with the energy, the spirit, so that nothing's in conflict. Harmonization. And from that deeper inner body state, we can observe. And in that observation, through neutrality and awareness, we can be with whatever is arising within us, whatever is being reflected externally, without jumping to good, bad, right, wrong, resist, latch onto, attach. So we come into the middle path that the great masters talked about, walking the middle path the Buddha spoke of, which is the neutral path. It's like shifting the car into neutral gear. And this is how we dissipate. We allow the old patterns, old beliefs, old energies to naturally complete. Old energies that once created pain and discomfort, physically, mentally, emotionally. Pain is just the physicalization of, or the emotion, the emotional body as well, of resistance. Truly, it's about resistance. So when we release resistance and we bring in more breath awareness and more softening and more permission to release and relax and rest without guilt or shame or resistance, and we just allow whatever to be. So we're shifting out of the survival patterns, because it's often those learned survival patterns that got wired into the nervous system, into the body, into the neural pathways, that is also deconstructing and rewiring to go, oh, yeah, once I used to react. Maybe I got enraged. Maybe I, gave a finger to that car when it overtook me. And now I'm remembering, oh, breathe. I can breathe. I might still feel the rumble of the rage and the anger, but I'm allowing it to rise without projecting it outward, without identifying with that emotion or with that emotional storyline. And we start to just breathe, knowing, and you can speak it because it's such a powerful thing to say, to remind that this too shall pass, this too shall pass, because of course it feels so real. The discomfort, the pain that we feel feels so real in the moment. So we're uploading, we're downloading, uploading the new expanded consciousness story of remembrance of who we truly are, that we are the consciousness behind, we are the awareness behind the thought field, behind the emotional field, behind these unprocessed emotional storylines or trauma storylines or past events. Rather than repeating them, now we can allow them to be completed through our presence, through our witnessing, through our breath, through grounding, through our willingness as well, our willingness, our readiness. This is why it is about a resonance. We're ready when we're ready. And this is why when we start to awaken, we want to awaken everybody else because we just, it's just part of the gig, kind of. You just want other people to awaken. But there can also be a part that is, wanting to prove, whatever to somebody else, to kind of prove whatever shifts is happening within us. However, eventually we learn that, yeah, it's not our job to awaken others. It's our job to be the living example and to inspire others, to ignite, to activate others into their awakening if they choose, if they're ready. And it happens naturally. There's actually nothing to do. Oh, this is Flojo here. You got Flojo. Look at she cutie. She is such a cutie. She's such a cutie. She's not myself and Steve's dog. Or is she? Or is she? Co-parent. We're doing some co-parenting of Flojo at the moment, aren't we? Co-parenting. Yeah. So she was the guy here, Chris. She was, rehomed, and she's had a few homes. So, he said it took a couple of years for her to calm down her nervous system, and just to feel safe and loved and cherished. I think she's doing a pretty good job now. Yeah. And the animals are here to help us, and they're help to reflect our nervous system and where we're at, and vice versa. So another beautiful sigh of nervous system regulation, letting the body know that it's safe. It's safe to be here now. It's safe to rest. It's safe to release what is no longer serves you, no longer serves you, no longer serves our humanity. Those journeys and experiences have been done. And now the soul, the higher self, the inner being is asking us to let it complete now. So we can expand into a new level of embodiment, soul embodiment, as we step into 2026, into, that next evolution, expansion. No pressure, no rush, just relearning, if you like, or coming back into a more natural rhythm with ourself, with the earth, with the universe, with trusting, creating the trust again within our nervous system that all is well, to trust the resonance and the frequency to trust the value of your presence, of one's presence, of one's energy, because it's all about the frequency now. In these common years, it's all about the energy, our state of being, and the energy that we're emanating, radiating, because in truth, energy doesn't lie. The ego has its little performance going on. We love the ego, it's got us here, but now we want that to soften into the back seat as the true essence, the authentic essence, connected to all that is. Remembrance, its wholeness, its holiness, its sacredness, to guide the way in gentle rhythms, where safety is it's innate to who we truly are. And we're just remembering that and then rewiring it into the body through the light body. The light body is really what holds the remembrance of who we truly are. So integrating that into our physicality, into our physical expression. And a lot of rest is required for that. A lot of self-care, a lot of surrender, a lot of releasing, letting go. Yeah. And so that's the gig. And natural creation coming from there, because we are naturally creational beings. Yeah. So with that, a couple of beautiful breaths in, sighs out. Oh, so sweet. And so it is. Namaste. Enjoy a beautiful day and enjoy being you, divine human, through inner alignment, aligning and shining. And so it is. Love and blessings from myself, Mary Jo, and Flo Jo. And so it is.